Welcome back to another episode of WECT Book Club. I'm your host, Caitlin Aguiles, and with us today is local author Emily Colin. Hi!
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. I absolutely loved reading Fate and Fury.
Thank you.
So I obviously really wanted to speak to you.
Well, I'm excited. I'm always down to talk about Fate and Fury, so let's do it.
For many people who don't know what this book is about, tell me a little bit about Fate and Fury.
For people who like to read Romantasy or who aren't familiar with Romantasy, you know, it's the blend of romance and fantasy together. And so I've always loved writing love stories with a supernatural bent. So I think we've got my books kind of set up on the table that people can see at some point. And though some of them are in different genres, they all have that in common. And so that's kind of my brand. So that's the genre that this is in. And, you know, as I was reading the Romantasies out there, they're amazing. I just wasn't seeing that many that had a Slavic background. And that's my cultural background. And so I thought, you know what? I'd love to delve more deeply into this and to write a Romantasy that's grounded in a world that, you know, has Slavic inspiration while also kind of some of my own ideas. So it came from that, and there's a scene in there, if you read it, you've read it, right? That has Katerina running through an orchard at a pivotal point in time. That was the first image that was in my mind, just this woman with long red hair running through this apple orchard that's still skeletal on the verge of spring, and it's dark, and there's this moon overhead. Somebody's chasing her, and she both wants and doesn't want to be caught.
Were any of the characters, you know, the two main characters, were they already set in stone in your head, and you were like, I'm going to write a story about these two characters, or did it evolve?
Yeah, I like to complicate things for myself. I don't know why. So this story has my two main characters, Nico and Katerina, but it also has the point of view of two demons who are really important to the story. And then somebody else, Elena Avila, who is sort of a love interest as part of the story and a complicated character. And so, you know, I think that I had a feeling like when I knew, it's kind of what I said before, I knew the setting was very dramatic, it was very beautiful, it was very stark, and she was in nature, and I knew that like she was magical in some way, but yet what she was feeling emotionally was so much greater than this power that she had. And I knew that whatever she was running from was this forbidden love. Mm-hmm. And I knew what would happen if and when he caught her.
What would you say to someone, you know, thinking about writing their first book, whether they go, you know, forth and publish it or they keep it for themselves?
I mean, a few things. I think the most important thing is find your community. Writing can be a very lonely process. So if you find other writers who are writing or reading the same genre as where you are, who can support you, maybe they're a little further along in the process and they can kind of guide you, or maybe they're just where you are and can empathize with your journey. So for me, finding that community to celebrate with you and commiserate with you and to read your work and give you feedback, I think can be absolutely key. And the other thing I think is to realize that, you know, it's very rewarding, but it isn't easy, and it isn't easy for anybody. And so to not compare your first draft to the finished product on the shelf at your favorite indie bookstore, right? Because that book on the shelf at your favorite indie bookstore has gone through innumerable drafts. It's gone through all these revisions.